r/AskReddit X multi-level marketing members and recruiters. What are your stories/red flags, and how did you manage to out of the industry? My mother did Amway years ago. She told me she quit when she realized she approached every new acquaintance with a name to make a sale instead of making a friend. My recruiter told me she made $400 at the party I was at. I later learned she made 25% of that. I was told if I could get 2 people under me, I would make $400 to $500 per month. Then I was told I needed 4 people instead of 2. Then I was $2,000 in debt with nothing to show for it. Deleted them all and changed my phone number. Edit. I'm an owner of 2 businesses, so I thought adding a small side hustle would be an easy transition. But it turned out that as a legitimate business owner, I couldn't bring myself to use the toxic business practices that were expected of me. Cold messaging, hounding people for orders, constantly reminding people about deals, etc. When I left, I helped the 2 girls who were under me get out as well, and apologized for roping them into something I thought was a good deal. I joined Primerica. I didn't see any red flags at first, but small ones started popping up. Like my team leader telling me to basically live outside my means, to make people think I was doing really good, and then they'd join, and then I'd do really good. Or finding out all the contests ran around recruitment, and not sales numbers. I left as soon as I realized, even put my name and number on the do not contact list. Blew a lot of money trying to make that work, only to realize I wasn't going to make any money without fucking my friends. I know a guy who was, and I think still is, neck deep into it. Posting pictures and videos of the meetings and these successful people. He was a union carpenter, and was doing well for himself. Was a decent dude. Joined Primerica and contacted me on Facebook trying to catch up, then asked me to hear a presentation or some stuff. Told him I didn't have time. I work 6 days a week and father of 3, and he got stuffy with me about it. Hasn't talked to me since lol. On another note, what is it exactly that Primerica supposedly does? Guy in college tried to recruit me and was adamant about sitting down together because he wanted to show me his pay stub because he loves showing it off to people. I had never even heard of the company, but knew it was some scam when he bragged about having a Series 7 license and his job being giving financial planning advice to families despite still being a student. I went to a seminar of theirs and that's exactly what I thought after I left halfway through. Why the would I trust a 19-year-old kid, me, to advise me on my finances? I think Primerica was the one that tried to get me. Just got laid off at the time, so was desperate to get anything. After asking about opportunities on my university's local alumni Facebook page, someone responded with an opportunity, saying they were human resources. A lot of me trusting the company came from them just being an alumni. Red flags started going off when another person casually started contacting me about it. Neither of them told me what the company was. Still dumb enough to show up for what I thought was an interview. Semi-sketchy office building. No signs other than some ones that you would expect in a building like this. Small-time accountants or lawyers. Been a while so don't remember. Got into the office and they had a projector, multiple rows of seats, sign-in sheet for attendees. Lots of people showing up in casual attire when I was dressed up. Obviously an information session, not an interview. Icing on the cake was the swords hanging on the wall that I guess you get when you hit a milestone. Noped out of there really quick before the presentation started. On the way out my contact followed me out and asked me where I was going. Must not have cared much because only asked once and didn't push when I said it wasn't for me. Got a call about a year later, again with very little info on who was actually calling. Figured it out when they talked about the information session last year. Told them never to call again after I realized who it was. My mom was caught up in the Market America scheme. They manipulated an already vulnerable, mentally unstable woman to sink $200,000 into her business. She took her own life less than a year later. If the company has washed up celebrities as podcast people and asks you to spend more money than you typically make in your business, you may want to reconsider your investment. By not getting in, I've seen a friend and his wife get into Amway, and in 3 years, they sold most of what they had, moved back in with the husband's mother, and both begin selling drugs to support the Amway habit. They still think they are mere months away from being millionaires. It's infuriating. One of my stepbrothers and his wife got into Amway hard. Even got our parents into it. No matter how many times I tried to tell them it was a pyramid scheme, they just kept telling me they were business owners who were just waiting for the business to kick off. Eventually our parents and my stepbrother got out of it after they realized they're losing money. SB's wife is still in it, though she stopped saying she's going to be a millionaire and now just says she makes enough money for all their extra expenses. Amway pays for our Christmas gifts every year. Recently it came out they were in counseling, and one of the biggest issues is they are losing money through her Amway, and she still refuses to quit it. My sister and her husband got into Amway all the way. They had to buy motivational tapes monthly. They were full of two messages: God wants you to be rich, and millionaires spend their days lounging on beaches, which is where you will be very soon. When they cleaned out their house during the divorce, the boxes of unopened tapes and products was astounding. Saddest part, they both still believed that if they had only been able to work a little harder, they would have succeeded. I vaguely remember a study that proved no person ever had followed the business model as described to the highest level. It was possible mathematically, apparently not in real life. P.S. The only millionaires I know work their butts off. Joined a jewelry-based multi-level marketing thinking it would be cute to sell jewelry as a side hustle in July. After I relocated across the country, I got roped into the be your own boss and make money while you sleep mentality, and for a while, it boosted my confidence because I truly thought I was doing a great job running my own business. On paper, I brought in good money, about $100 per live show, which was 1 hour a week, but I had to ship out the jewelry to them, which ate about 20% of the profit. Then the money earned went back into ordering more jewelry. By September, once the glitz and excitement of it all wore off, and I realized nothing was coming back to me, my boyfriend told me the only way to earn money in the business was to add new business partners. I told him I wasn't interested in doing that, but that was part of the scheme. I was so hurt by the people who had roped me into the business, so I quit that same day. Luckily, I made it out with only like $30 lost, but I still have a ton of jewelry and packing materials taking up space in my house. Some dude tried to recruit me into buying/selling energy drinks. It was a known scam throughout school at this point, so I decided to go along with it to see where it would go. The guy's dad was a friend of mine, and my dad has a pretty well-known computer shop in town. Anyway, I go to pick up MLM man from his house to go to a meeting. This guy loads 3 cases of energy drinks, I think they were called Vima or something, into my car. I was already sketched out and this was a liability I didn't want to encumber myself with, so I told him I had a family emergency. He got out of the car, told me to keep the 85 energy drinks. The 3 cases were in my car for a few weeks, never touched them. About a month after hearing anything, one morning there were maybe 8 to 10 cases of the energy drinks stacked right outside the back door of my dad's shop. 2 out of 10 would not try to join a cult again. My story may end up being typical, but I'll tell it anyway. On mobile so formatting. Anyway, I had just started college right out of high school. Was going to an art school, I know, bad idea, and was looking for a job to do between classes. Classmate of mine mentioned Cutco, so I naively went in for an interview. Few points to know. I had no previous job experience at all. The office was in the next town over, and I didn't have a driver's license at the time, let alone a car. My freaking mom drove me to the interview. Got the job anyway. So I get the Cutco bag of stuff to show off, and was sent on my way to harass my relatives. I thought that I was only doing example shows to them, practicing for the real deal. My dad and stepmom even bought some knives. No idea what happened to them though. Last I saw they used a different set. Once I run out to people to bother, I start running into problems. Problem 1 was I didn't sell anything other than that one set. Problem 2 was I hadn't gotten any other people to talk to. The pyramid part of my pyramid scheme wasn't working real well. Problem 3 was the straw that broke the camel's back apparently. I couldn't get to the weekly meetings because my mom refused to drive me across town every week. She had a long commute. In the end I got a call from my manager telling me he was basically letting me go and I needed to turn in my swag bag. I told him I couldn't get to him, so he had to come to me. Later that day he rolled up, I gave him the bag and that was it. Don't think I ever got my cut from the knives I did sell either. The real kicker was I didn't even realize it was a MLM until almost a decade later, browsing this very sub. My sister-in-law talked me into selling It Works. I was hesitant, didn't quite need the money, but figured extra income couldn't hurt. Was a seller for 6 months. They kept telling me to add all of these women I have in common with people I'm already friends with, and to post about it 3 to 4 times a day on Facebook and Instagram. I literally made an Instagram for it. They said to message at least 30 people a day about, and twice a week there was a group video chat they kept insisting I join. I couldn't join due to me being at my normal job. All in all, I hated it. I'm awkward and a terrible salesperson, and I made nothing from it. Never made a sale. They kept saying try and get your mom or aunts to support you. It was a waste of money and all. But, made out with one new friend. I fell victim to It Works as well. I knew something was seriously wrong with the company when they would take your money for their hot new product and then you wouldn't receive anything for weeks, but they didn't hesitate to take the next payment for the auto shipment that you never receive in the first place. The straw that broke the camel's back was when they charged me 3 times in one day for the same product, and when I reached out to my upline about it, she said I would just have to call them myself. After waiting on hold almost 2 hours, the man on the line at customer support essentially told me that it was an issue with PayPal and not them, and there was nothing he could do. Needless to say, I then called PayPal and reported them, and PayPal essentially blocked them from making any future transactions. I eventually got my money back after a few days, but the whole thing was very inconvenient and definitely left a bad impression of multi-level marketing. I've been wanting to tell this story for ages and never got round to it. When my husband died, abusive prick, so don't feel bad for me. He left me with a fuck ton of debt. Okay, you can feel bad for me now, lol. Not long after he died I had gone to a Tupperware party for a friend and made some positive comment about one of the products, and that put me on the presenter's radar. This presenter happened to be one of those top tier ladies that ignored their family to make it big. She was / is the regional person. Whatever the title is, I was broke. Paying off so much stuff while waiting for the life insurance to come through. You'd be surprised at the amount of companies that don't give a shit that you've lost a spouse, they just want their money. So Tupperware was spun as a way to earn extra money. She even gave me the starter kit without having to pay up front. Problem was, I worked full time and it was near impossible to book parties. I did my first presentation at my house and booked no parties. I reached out to all my friends and family and booked no parties. The pressure from this woman was immense. She'd call me while I was at my day job. She tried to convince me to quit my day job to focus on Tupperware. She knew I was broke, but she was adamant that if I quit my job I'd make it big, and before I know it, I'd have a Tupperware car just like her. She never listened to me. Even when I said to her, how do you expect me to pay my bills if I quit my job and start up Tupperware? She had a response for everything. Nothing was based in logic, and every time she called me, which was weekly, I was filled with dread. I started to ghost her. It took months for me to work up the courage to tell her I didn't want to do it anymore. It took weeks for her to accept me don't want to do it anymore. She dragged it on and on and on. Finally she sent me a curt leave your kid at the front door message, which I did. She tried a couple of years down the track to recruit me again. I ignored her calls. All I wanted to extra income to help me. I also wanted to add to my friend group. All I got was stress, anxiety, and frustration.